Yeah, well, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you being here this morning. I'm sorry I wasn't here last week or 2 weeks ago when Thomas and Smitty met with you. I want to take the opportunity to voice my concurrence essentially with what they said and to offer some of my own thoughts as the owner and the steward of your football team. It's always good to see you, Algie.
Thanks, Black.
Great to see you in uniform. We missed you this year in uniform. I think last week the coach coined our season as consistently inconsistent. I thought I would summarize the season in the context of my 12 years as your owner, going into my 13th season coming up. When I was asked to think of a single word, I said the word probably would be disappointment. But I think you have to measure disappointment in terms of the expectations you have. So I think the gap, to me, between our expectations going into 2013 season and where we ended up, I think was severe. I think it was severe amongst our fans, amongst the media, folks here, players certainly, Algie can relate to that, our coaches, front office, and myself personally. So that disappointment, I think, is more glaring than it would be under normal circumstances when you are facing 4-12, getting over a 4-12 season. I think from my viewpoint, it was due to a number of factors. One was the injuries, which Smitty, to his credit, didn't use that as an excuse, but injuries are a reason. We had a lot of them. On the other hand, I would say, in complete honesty, many NFL teams have lots of injuries and find ways to coach through them and to get players to play through them. We didn't do that as well as we had hoped to this last year. I think, in all fairness, I would also say that Thomas and Smitty, I think, would agree with me on this, that probably the depth of our roster is not as strong as we had anticipated when we sustained all these injuries. Probably partly due to decisions over a period of time relating to personnel and probably some coaching issues that we have now addressed. I think it's pretty clear we missed the assessment of the offensive line. I would also argue we missed the assessment of our defensive line as well. And that's not a criticism of the individuals. It's not a criticism of their individual talent. I think it is a criticism in reality of the way their ability was to play together as a cohesive unit. I would also say that all of the decisions that we've made relative to roster changes are made with, in terms of the total organization. They're made with my awareness and my knowledge and my support. They're made by Thomas and Smitty in a collaborative, partnership, cohesive way with obviously coordinators and position coaches involved and other folks in personnel and talent evaluators involved as well. For the last 5 years, I would say, other than this 2013 season, we've had a situation simplistically where 2-2 equaled 6. This year, 2-2 equaled probably 2 for us. Some people would argue even 1. What I will tell you is that going into the 2014 season, that both Smitty and Thomas have even greater resolve. I would say the word resolve, but I would say even greater resolve to fix the issues that we understand. The good news is that we understand what the issues are. The bad news is that it's more than one issue. I have complete confidence and faith in these two guys and their staffs. I think they'll be objective. They'll be intellectually honest. They'll be transparent in identifying and working through the issues as they see them, and they solve them for the 2014 season. And that dissection and that analysis and that transparency and decision-making began over the last couple of weeks. We made 3 coaching changes last week, and we were applying the same scrutiny of the evaluators. Thomas is doing that with his department as well. You should also know that you have an owner, which I don't think is any surprise to anybody in Atlanta or in the NFL, who continues to make the financial investment in strengthening our team. We will continue again to spend to the salary cap and be as creative as we can in getting the best possible roster put together for 2014. I want to save time to answer any of your questions, but I wanted to share just a couple of thoughts before I do that. During my first few years of ownership, when I didn't have the 12 years behind me, I asked our football ops folks to spend some time in studying the best teams in the National Football League over a very long period of time and see if there was anything that was common threads of consistency amongst all the teams. And they did that work for me, and there were four things that came out of that work, which I would say was true then and is just as true today. One is that you've got a consistency of an owner. Two, you have a consistency, which means a maintenance of the quality of a coaching staff and a front office staff. It's not just a question of maintaining the coaching staff and maintaining the personnel department, but if you have high caliber folks leading in those positions, they are maintained over a longer period of time. Three, that through salary cap management, you build primarily through the draft and you supplement through selective use of free agency. I think we've committed to doing that and are still committed to doing that. And the fourth thing is that you've got a sameness, a understanding throughout the building as to what you're trying to build. From a football standpoint, coordinators understand that, position coaches understand that, personnel folks understand that, so when they're looking at folks in free agency or folks in the draft, they're drafting folks, bringing people into the building in whatever way they can that fulfill the specific needs that the coaches see for the schemes that they are developing. So it's this one-team approach. That model we try to follow since we did that work, and we are committed to it again now. I think we spent some time over the last couple of weeks revalidating that work and comparing the most successful clubs in the National Football League against the Falcons over the last 6 years under Smitty and under Thomas. And this is what we found. The Falcons are tied for 6th in the cumulative winning percentage over the last 6 years. It's important to note that with the exception of New England, which has the highest number of wins during that period of time, 72, the Falcons are between 1 to 3 wins of the other 4 teams that are ahead of us. Number 2, none of the clubs that are ahead of us have had an ownership with less than 10 years in place. Green Bay is a little different because their ownership structure is unique in Green Bay. The tenure ranges from 10 to 29 years, and I'm facing my 13th year as your owner in 2014. None of the clubs in front of us, as well as us, has a head coach that has a tenure of less than 6 years. Number 3, all 5 have franchise quarterbacks, and we certainly have a great franchise quarterback in Matt Ryan. So those are some of the characteristics. Another one I would add is that 4 of the teams ahead of us are in the 4th quartile for free agency spending. So the point there is that we certainly have been committed to free agency and have had some great success. Not always great success, but you look at Michael Turner or Tony Gonzalez and others, we've had great success, I would say, in free agency or trades. On balance, is that, but generally teams that have been in this group that have consistently performed at a high level in the NFL have not built their rosters through free agency. Have built it primarily through the draft and supplementing it with free agents. 3 of the 5 teams that are ahead of us were in the playoffs this year. How many are in there today? I'd have to go back and actually think about it a little bit. It is important to note that although we slipped in 2013, that since 2008, a couple of overall stats is that we ranked 10th in the NFL in yards per game. On defense, we ranked 8th in the fewest points allowed, and on special teams, we ranked 3rd in yards per kickoff return. So in terms of the 3 phases of the game, offense and defense and special teams, I think over a long period of time, your team has performed very, very well. And to be clear on that, this is not an excuse as to the 2013 season. I would just say to you that 2 points. First, I think it's important to keep in mind the body of work that this group, that this team has put on the field over the last 6 years, not just focus on 2013. And that understand that I have complete confidence in their commitment and their ability, not just their commitment and not just their desire, but their capability to turn this organization, turn the team around, to make the changes, to be transparent, to look at themselves honestly and openly, and look at their organizations in the way they have to do, and to put us back on the path that we have been more used to in the preceding 5 years. So I want to close also by telling you and thanking you as media for being there for the entire year for us. Unfortunately, a couple of times I've said this over the last 12 years, not in the last 6 years, but in the last prior to that. It's not fun when you have to report and follow teams and players and coaches that you care about personally, that you spend time with from the beginning of March all the way through the end of the season, and when you see them stressed and not perform at the level that they're capable of performing. You see players injured, you see coaches under a lot of stress, emotional stress, in a variety of ways. I know it's not easy to write about those things, report on those things, so I appreciate your work over this period of time as well. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.